You may be assuming incorrectly.
Two raiders plumb the depths of their experience to make sense of a world gone completely insane. Subscribe for the word. Like and leave a comment. Stranger by the hour.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Stranger by the Hour. It's going to be January 18th, I believe, right?
Yep.
And well, that makes sense because this is episode 118, and we're welcoming back Wooden Nichols, man. What's up, buddy?
Cody and
happening,
Aaron,
man?
it's a pleasure to come back. It's
Good
our
to see
third
you.
time chatting.
Awesome,
yeah.
man. Yeah, it's always been a great time, dude. So we're just gonna roll right into it, man. We don't really. This is just gonna be a hang, everybody. We're just gonna chill and just kind of shoot the shit over current events, talk about some maybe entertainment industry stuff, hit some movies, man, and just kind of chill, man. So kick back and relax, man. Why
don't we start with what's new with you? Like, what's the current state of things in your industry? I think that'd be interesting.
It's still been pretty slow for the most part. When those writers and actors strikes finally ended,
Yep.
a lot of the shows that were shut down from those strikes were really the only ones to pick back up and get going. Long story short, I was actually invited onto one of those shows that got shut down, and their coordinator wasn't going to come back. And I got offered the job, and then all of a sudden, I no longer had the job, and no one was explaining to me why. And I'm very much convinced that my status of being unvaccinated actually was the reason I wasn't hired on that one. Now, I can't say 100%, but if that's the case, I'm very glad that I did not end up on that show.
So that's interesting. How explicit is all that? When you go through the hiring process, or is it different from each production company or something? Like, do they ask you point blank to demonstrate your status, or is that kind of legacy from when they were asking everybody in the country?
Yeah, I mean, that was the case when New York especially had rolled out all private sector employees need to be vaccinated. You had to show it. And it wasn't a case where you could show fake ones because each production was spending like millions on COVID safety teams. So there was like a whole new department with all these employees that were there that like
They're
felt like
doing
they
due
were
diligence.
police officers. Yeah, like going
Yeah.
around like mask up. So yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who, unfortunately, at the beginning went through a lot of bullshit that I didn't agree with, but I knew where I was going to draw the line, and that was with
Yeah.
the vaccine, and it got to that point. But in this particular case, it was someone that I worked with on a previous job. It was actually the job that I got fired from for not taking the vaccine. She was working on the same production that I got offered the job to. And I have her name on my resume. I always list the people that I work with, who my bosses are. And as soon as I, showed my resume after they asked me like, yeah, are you available? They knew that they wanted someone from New Jersey, and they knew that, I was living there. So yeah, once I no longer had any more information on the job and no one would talk to me, I was kind of like, it's pretty obvious what's going on here. But
It's such a strange industry because it seems to me that it's the type of thing that you would think would be a meritocracy, because they have to make a product and then sell it, right? And so the quality of the work definitely matters, but and you can correct me if I'm off base on this, but it also seems to be like it has its own kind of culture and ideology, and it's like there aren't really outliers. You've got like Daily Wire is now producing like reactionary right-wing content or something, which I'm not interested in at all, because my point is like how from the outside looking in, it looks like kind of like a thing where it requires you to at least demonstrate like adherence to certain cultural norms. Is that just how it seems from the outside, or is it truly that way?
It's a mixed bag. For where I was working in art departments, you definitely had a very strong liberal-minded. That was just liberal-minded.
Right.
Well,
But then
okay,
once
so
you
hold
get
on.
into
When you say liberal, right? Because like I could like
neoliberal, to be more specific,
like dystopian liberal, not
Yeah.
like we should let people do what they want to do and let's let gay guys get married. Not normal liberal shit, like way out there liberal shit.
Hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, really all it is just, repeating what you heard from CNN. No one actually ever
Yeah.
Gotcha.
presented an original idea based off anything. It's, did you hear that Pfizer's getting ready to get the vaccine? It's going to come out, that kind of just every day, back in 2021, when we went back to work, it was just updates and updates. And I mean, it drove me crazy, but you get into then like construction shops and, some of the set dressers, and then you get into
like
the
working
right
class
wing
guys, right?
Yeah, then you get into just the
grips and your lighting
Trumpers.
guys and your like.
Yeah. It doesn't really I mean, there are people who ride the center, like myself and you guys do. They're few and far between for the most part. And I've always been like at a lower mid-level of the industry. I've only been around like A-listers a handful of times in my life, and that's when I was a production assistant. And that's definitely a whole different ball game. I can look back now and realize I was in the lion's den with some of that stuff, but I wasn't aware. You don't, you hear about the casting couch. Harvey Weinstein hadn't come out with all that thing, and then of course, the pedophilia stuff wasn't prominent. So I didn't know about any of that, but I was definitely around an A-list director where looking back, it's like, oh shit, like that's kind of as close to that weirdness as you get. I personally didn't see anything to just go, red flag, but enough to be like, well, no, what the fuck is going on here? Because
dude, it's truly a strange. It's a very interesting industry because of how much power, and like once you start kind of becoming aware about how the media is used. So when you don't know, you just you're like, yeah, these people are just so rich and famous, and people are so starstruck by them that they act like lords and ladies, and they're looking to. But it's more than that. It's that they're engaged in a very specific enterprise, and it's not just they're creative types and they're making their art, so they're strange. In a lot of cases, they're performing a function for a very powerful like regime, and some of them I think aren't even aware that that's what they're doing, and then some of them definitely are. Some of those directors definitely are very well aware of like, and they I think that they see themselves as like they're going to create the world that they want to live in adherence to their weird like.
Well, there's a core crew of guys who always show up on the heaviest propaganda movies. So anytime there needs to be a story told about how something went down or how something is, and so what I'm talking about is your Tom Hanks, for your Captain Phillips.
Tom Hanks has been in a bunch of like,
dude, a bunch of them that's just like
Philadelphia to push the AIDS thing.
Also, Charlie Wilson's War.
Big
Mark Wahlberg.
Big,
yeah, Big, where he gets molested. By his wife.
That was all about pedophilia.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like,
so how many? This is what I'd be interested to know. How many truthers? Like when I say truther, I just mean someone who is aware that that the whole apparatus of the media in Hollywood is being used in many cases to, for a specific purpose, and, basic level truth, or someone who knows what's going on. How many of those people have you met in your industry?
Oh, they're definitely there. My mentor is one of them, and I didn't know that. Just long story short, I had gotten an internship on this show called Ugly Betty, and
I remember
that. The person I was working under, I would end up meeting her like 5-6 years later, and she would end up becoming my mentor. And she's deep. She likes you guys too, so she watches Mortarboard. There was actually on the Mortarboard channel, I started re-uploading some of the old Wood and Nickel stuff, and she had texted me and she's like, someone's stealing your content and reposting it. I was like, no, that's just me. But they're there. They're few and far between, but they exist.
Yeah.
So what is what's her general thesis over where we're at and what we're doing?
Man, she's in deep, she's talked to me about like, and you guys might know some of this stuff, or at least heard of it, like Wars on Mars and like the Way Back program or something. I forgot what she said, but like soldiers are like going and fighting on Mars like reptilians and,
Dude, you
and
hear
stuff.
a lot of that stuff that's super out there. But just me personally, you know how like you find stuff that resonates with you or that you're interested in, all the kind of space, the Pleiades, planet, this and that stuff bounces off me. Like, and I'm not saying that I'm discounting all that and that I know that none of that's true. I'm just saying that given that your attention is a constrained resource, I just I don't tend to aim my attention at that very much for whatever reason.
Well, that's
So
why the
here,
reptilians are winning the war on
yeah,
Mars,
that's
Aaron, because
right.
you're not paying attention to it. You're
Yeah,
letting it
probably.
happen.
I think it is so clear now these days that everything has been inverted, right? Like it's literally the case, right? Like the education complex makes you stupid. The medical complex makes you sick. You know, the defense department is actually the offense department. And you know, Aaron and I talk about this pretty not a lot on the show, but pretty much. And you know, I'll speak for myself. My understanding of how the inversion with space works is this, man, is that I don't believe space is what we've been told it is at this point. Now, I make no claims because to make a claim, you need evidence, right? We try to be good about when we make a claim, you know, that we've done our trivium process and we're like, hey, look, like I'm claiming and I'm backing it up. So the reason why I'm saying this about space is I don't have to make a claim to say that I know what it is to know that I know a lie when I see one. And so since they're lying so heavily all the fucking time, what that leads me to believe is, okay, if they want me to look up and out, so just like your own personal self, you should be looking down and in. And so that leads me to Elon Musk and his boring fucking tunnel, right? Every ancient civilization that dug down into the earth and sealed themselves off, like Turkey, Darren Kuyu, Cappadocia,
It was hundreds of miles of tunnels underneath Los Angeles. The whole
dude, like
yeah.
and then you keep reading into history and you find out that the several of the Native American peoples were like, which I think is a fucking dumb term. I'm a Native American. I was born here. Say that they were brought back up to the surface after catastrophes, man.
Hopi prophecies, I think.
Yeah, the Hopi
come
prophecies
from the underground.
I think I assess. My assessment is that space functions differently. Whatever that is above our heads does not function. There's nobody leaving an atmosphere minus a container into an infinite vacuum. In my assessment, that's a lie, right? So if that's a lie, what's the truth? And to me, the truth is they're going down. All these billions and trillions and quadrillions of fucking dollars aren't going up; they're going down. And my assessment of why that would be the case is cyclical cataclysm, right? It's seems to be like well within what can be seen as evidence. I'm reading a book from 1880 right now called Atlantis in the Antediluvian World, written by Ignatius Donnelly, back when dudes had like real names, like Ignatius. And he puts the entire conversation between Solon and the Egyptians in there. And Graham Hancock, which is on some whole different shit, likes to paraphrase it all the time, right? But like the Egyptians were telling Solon, like your race only remembers one deluge, and there's been many, and it happens in two ways. Either this place gets caught on fire, and how that gets recorded is, whatever we'll call it Icarus or something, like flies too close to the sun and gets burned up, and that's probably a bad example, but I can't think of it going off the top of my head right now. But a celestial body, whatever that means, comes closer to the earth and the destruction is by fire. And then the next time around, if it flip-flops, which maybe it does, is the deluge. And that happens, the waters come from both above and the waters come up from the fucking ground. And you look at the Giza Plateau, and there's fucking huge tunnels, man. Like 10 stories down, and there's like some massive fucking box down there. So my assessment of space is it's Hollywood shit, man. Why does, and maybe you would have a good input on this, man. Like everything from Hollywood is outer space, dude. It's all the multiverse. It's all space. It's all aliens. It's all light speed. It's all fucking, Ridley Scott's Prometheus. And Ridley Scott's another one of those dudes that helps get the fucking message out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's high level.
I didn't like
Yeah.
it.
So what do you think about that?
Well, if space is as they say it is, I have $1 million idea for Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, and it's a TV show called "Send a Flat Earther to
Yeah,
Outer
yeah.
Space."
This is a fun.
Get them all in one room. That's going to be one episode, and they have to vote who's going into outer space because
How
that's
many's
just going to
gonna
be
go?
pure entertainment because they're going to try to kill each other.
Yeah.
And then eventually you just send one of them up to space and show them what it is. Now,
Yeah.
if you can't produce that show, which again, that's $1 million idea, everyone's going to tune in for that. Flat
Yeah.
earthers are going to tune in for it. Non-flat earthers are going to tune into it. If you can't produce $1 million idea for the show, then I would say, yeah, they're lying about what's going on up there. And I've always felt that I don't have any problem saying, yeah, like the moon landings or no, I don't
Yeah.
buy into any of
I
that
don't even
stuff.
think that's a stretch at this point. I don't think you're even taking a risk, of being wrong on that.
Have you ever seen Capricorn 1?
I haven't, no. I'm aware of
Dude,
it, but it's one of those
genius,
ones that it's still on the list that
I
I gotta
watched
see.
Aaron and I were out in San Diego doing some work, and I was alone in my hotel room, and that's usually, because I don't want to like bore the wife all the time with all this shit. So like that's one of the ones I sat down and watched again, man. And that is literally how they fake the fucking moon landing.
Yeah.
Just take Mars out and just think it's the moon and think that there's no happy
To
ending.
include like sweating the astronaut, like we'll
Yeah.
kill you if you don't. Yeah.
They showed a lot. I think there was this weird Netflix show. I didn't end up finishing it, but it was with Mike Myers, and it's like this whole thing about like the Illuminati
Oh, dude,
to a degree. But there's like this
just
whole moon
over the
landing
top,
set.
completely.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember that they did a cartoon too. That's literally the point of the cartoon.
I watched an episode of that. That was weird.
And I see what they're doing. It's an effective technique to just flood. It's kind of like the Goyim know too much, shut it down. Like people getting close to the truth. So you just flood the information environment with, it's kind of a played out trope at this point. All the Illuminati stuff, to the point where a lot of rappers, and I pay way too much attention to like hip hop shit I don't even listen to it really. I just pay attention to what they're up to because it like a lot of it
Some
fucking
world star hip hop.
Yeah, a lot of the culture around that like entertains me. Like it's like I was just watching. It's funny to me, right? But a lot of these rappers like they know that being accused of having taken the deal. So the deal is like you're in the Illuminati via having sex with Puff Daddy. Like there's a whole bunch of different little avenues that these guys get to, but all that does is it gets like it's now a way to get attention, eyes on you. So and that's effective too because it muddies the waters even further. It's like there definitely is these guys taking a deal, to be conduits for this like occult messaging, and then there are guys that are just pretending that they are because it gets attention.
Well, that is not the Illuminati, right? One of the things is that I think that particular psyop does is basically brings something as nefarious and real as the fucking Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, Club of Rome, etc., down to like a base and like like stupid level, right?
Trivializes it.
And because basically what those guys are doing is they're like possessed mouthpieces, right? And the word possession is interesting. We immediately think of like a demonic energy. We think of an energy from somewhere possessing you, but no, those people are possessions, man.
Yeah.
And maybe Woody would know more about this than us, but like if you say it all the time, dude, like Taylor Swift is a brand. Like what's her name? Queen Bee.
Oh, Beyonce.
Like, she's a brand,
and she's not in control of that.
And
yeah,
well, Kanye,
probably, by the way,
my bad.
Yeah.
So, and Kanye is probably the easiest one to tell. Like as soon as that dude allegedly steps out of line, he gets fucking corrected, dude. That's a possession. You are a possessed person because you are somebody else's possession that gives you the golden ticket, and the golden ticket is a few $100 million.
And these creative types, you can see what happens to them. Like maybe you've been witness to this or something from the inside, but like you can see what these guys done. They had enough actual talent or like enough creative energy to kind of create something that's valuable in and of itself, and then they trade the right to that away to like a corporation, and then you can see it like it sours them. Like I'm not a creative type person, but if I had to, in order to get my art out there, I had to make this kind of deal that ultimately resulted in, now I have something, an entity telling me what my art's going to look like, and there's no getting out of it. There's no other way to do it at that point because they've made the deal. You can see how it changes these people into this like very ugly. You know what I'm talking about? Am I making any sense?
No, absolutely. I've always just kind of from what I've seen, which again, I'm not, I haven't been that deep into it, but a lot of it's just the drugs.
Okay.
When that money starts flowing through, and you're right, you do, you sell your soul to a degree. It's not like you physically are going to be. I mean, then again, I don't know, but by just answering to the corporations and producing stuff for them, you kind of are. So yeah, the most miserable people I've seen are just the ones that are just always hopped up on drugs.
Yeah.
And then just the money comes through and they lose their minds.
Dude, for a while, just because of all the looking into all this stuff with Hollywood and everything, it made it so I just stopped watching almost everything. So now I'm just watching like YouTube videos and shit online or whatever, and basically just I kind of decided that, yeah, I'm not going to consume what Hollywood puts out anymore. But every once in a while, like, they'll get me, and then I'll realize, I'm like, no, you know what? I am denying myself something that it is art. Like, I watched this movie last night on Amazon called The Passenger. It's just like I clicked on Amazon for some other reason, and it was up in the feed. And it just, for whatever reason, I like read the description, and I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'll go down the road on this thing. And it was, it's just this, a pretty violent movie, but it's these two young men. They get involved doing this murder thing, and then it's like how they spend their day. I don't want to get into the whole thing, but any movie now I'm watching, I'm trying to figure out what the grabble is. Like, what are they trying to burn into my brain subliminally or whatever? Couldn't really figure any of that out, so I just kind of took my hands off the wheel and enjoyed it. And I'm like, dude, look, people are still making, like, the one thing about that movie, they're non-specific about like where they filmed it, but it's like, looks like it might be late 90s, early 2000s, somewhere horrible in the country, like one of those towns that just time, like there's a lot of them around here in North Carolina, right? Like some industry used to exist and it's gone now, and it just looks like the end of the line for a lot, and it was such a well done, like, you're so immersed in the like shittiness of the environment and everything, and I'm like, all right, someone made this film, and it's still like worthwhile. Like, I still have hope for that medium, because like it's very powerful, like what you can transfer in film that you can't with other mediums, you know what I mean? That's probably
Yeah, I
why
mean it's all the art mediums in one. It's the visuals, it's the music.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was brainwashed by cinema as a child, and
Yeah, maybe like
it's just powerful.
how'd you get into film? Like, what's the deal with all that?
I mean, yeah, it's from a young age, just television. I was obsessed with it. My dad's always like, get the fuck outside. Go do this other shit. It's like, no, but Saturday morning cartoons. Like I was just obsessed, brainwashed. And then when I got into middle school, I was around the age of 13, I really started to show a slacker mentality. And my mother was trying to figure out, okay, well, what can I show him to like get some motivation and get him excited about the future? And she brought me this brochure for this college in Orlando called Full Sail University,
Oh, I've
and
heard
they
of
had a
that.
film yeah, they had a film program, and that was my introduction to, like, an idea of how to, like, go that route. And then it wasn't until I graduated high school, I did 1 year at a local university in my hometown. I dropped out because I was like, "This is horseshit, like, I'm not doing this." So then I kinda just wandered around for a little bit, and then I had to figure out, well, what am I gonna do next? And I remembered that Full Sail University brochure, and I was like, "You know what? Let me just, get that student loan and go to Orlando." And so once I was there, and really kind of realized which that school does a great job of getting you ready for the film industry. You got classes at like 4 o'clock in the morning where you go and you fuck around with lights. You're exhausted, and I
Oh, and
quickly
you
realized
do
that
it at 4 in the morning because that's a
yeah,
specific
they get
lighting and
you on a
okay,
schedule to be ready
to
to,
be on a production crew,
yeah,
yeah.
to not be lazy, and yeah, so once I got to that school and started doing all the hands-on stuff, I was like, "Oh, I actually don't like any of this. Like, none of this is for me." We did like the cinematography class, lighting, Once we got to screenwriting, which only lasted 1 month because they were real short classes, they got you out of there in 2 years with a bachelor's degree. Once I got to the screenwriting class, I was like, okay, yeah, this is actually what I want to be doing. And I became real obsessed with that. And then I just had to like self teach myself with all the books, the Robert McKee, Sid Field, and then it was a book called the 22 no, The Anatomy of Storytelling by John Truby, and that one just, like, registered with me, and so when I was a production assistant and funny story because this ties back to that Ugly Betty internship, I only got that position because of my school. Once I moved to New York City, I was struggling to find work, and I was a real weird person at that time, like, I remember, like, sending out, like, cover letters, and my brother read one, and he's like, "Dude, you sound like a fucking serial killer, like, no one's gonna hire you."
Yeah, this is
But,
not
once I got that internship and then, of course, met my mentor that way, yeah, I just focused a lot on screenwriting. I was really egotistical. I thought I was just gonna break into the business overnight as a screenwriter, and I would get all my scripts into the hands of my bosses, the production designers that I was working anyone who would read them, and they would just come back and be like, "This sucks, dude. Like, this is
at least they
really,
were
really."
fucking shooting you
What type
straight.
of stuff are you
Yeah.
writing?
Sorry?
What genre of stuff are you writing?
Oh, all sorts of stuff. Just whatever was inspiring me at the time. I remember that I had one called Young Exorcist. It was about like this cool hip guy who was brought in to be an exorcist and taught all the ways, but he was like, it's kind of how movies are today with like the women characters, where
Okay.
it's like they can do no wrong.
Yeah.
They're born perfect and they come out the other end perfect.
What's that called? A Mary Sue?
Oh,
Is that what that's called?
But so I was writing that as male characters.
What's a,
But
real quick screenwriting? So like, is that when you write a screenplay? How is that different than a regular story? Does it include like information about like how it should be lit or how the
no, I mean
how
that's
the
like the when you get to the point where you're making millions of dollars selling screenplays, you can do whatever the hell you want. But as a first time screenwriter, it's very important that you don't direct at all.
okay.
And the way you do that is with your action lines. So it's all about how you set up the script. You know, you've got like your scene heading, and then you have your action lines, and then you've got the dialogue. The way that I was taught is each time you have a new action line, that's like the camera changing positions.
Mm.
So if you've got like a scene where two characters are talking, all of a sudden a car comes flying off a cliff or whatever, and you want to visualize that and get that visualization in the reader's head, you're always turning that into a new action line. Like now the car comes over, or however you want to do that. So there are ways you kind of go about it. And of course, even like with lighting, you know, you can be creative. You know, if it's a red sunset, you know, you just find ways to paint the picture into the reader's head. But as soon as you're like, we cut to and camera smashes, like, and I've read a lot of scripts that have that in it, but again, those are people that are allowed to do that. And I don't even like reading it that way. I much more prefer a script that the writer just gets the visuals in your head because they wrote it that well. So that's kind of my inspiration. And I'm still screenwriting now. I took a big break from it, but I'm jumping back into it with a story that I'm really excited about. And I've spoken with a lot of people about it and they get really excited. So that's kind of like my plan at the moment.
That's cool.
Finish
I
that.
still really like the medium of film, and I mean not so much TV anymore, but definitely film, because you know I use it a lot in editing. That's how I really fell in love with your stuff. Is it was the editing, and you know, sometimes there's no better way to express a point to somebody than to show them through, you know, a film. You know, it's metaphorical. It's analogous might be the other term for it. You know, I've used the scene in Goodfellas where they're that restaurant owner goes to Polly to get help against Tommy, and Ray Liotta's character, whose name I just
Well, you
forgot.
want me to whack him? Oh, maybe that's not such a bad idea.
Yeah,
Polly.
I've used that entire section of that movie to explain basically like how the CIA and the DOD and the Department of State works, you know, and basically after you've robbed this, instead of a bar or a restaurant, after you've robbed this country of every mineral resource you can get out of it, say like in Afghanistan, you know, you light a match, you burn it down, you bust it out and you leave, you know. And so sometimes when I tell that to people, it doesn't resonate. But if I can show them in film, if I can like, look, watch this scene right here and just juxtapose the Department of State on Ray Liotta and the CIA, who's a fake terrorist on fucking on Joe Pesci, you know, and like Paulie's like America, you know, it's like it helps to like to visualize like how something like this goes down in the micro, you know, so then you can like maybe make the leap to understand that there's no difference between the micro and the macro, you know. So that's really why I still watch a ton of movies, man. We got Movie Monday up here at the farm.
Well, and it's like, you know, every tool is kind of neutral, right? And then it just depends on how it's applied. But like one of the things we talk about probably the most frequently is how you know, the powerful medium of film is used to put into mass consciousness an understanding of historical events that doesn't really match reality, but becomes reality because once you reach the critical mass tipping point of people understanding it a certain way, then that's the way it is effectively. And then people that know the truth about it can say the truth, but it just becomes an issue of like, no, it can't be the truth. Everybody knows that a hot CIA agent caught bin Laden because they saw, you know, whatever, Zero Dark 30 or whatever. Right. So,
yeah, or they think the whole Benghazi thing was the reason the CIA was there was they were trying to reclaim anti-aircraft weapons from whatever weapons are,
right.
You know, and it
doesn't matter if it's true, but it becomes true because enough people saw it. We used to use, on piggyback on your example, when I was teaching at sniper school, one of the classes we taught was immediate action drill. So that's basically, for anybody that's not in the know, it's like, hey, you're, you know, going from point A to point B with your, you know, group of people and you get ambushed or attacked. What are the first things you do to gain an advantage or break contact or whatever, right? And so this is a class, you know.
I already know what you're going to say.
Yeah. But we use the scene from the movie Heat, which Heat's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
All time.
But anybody that's seen that movie will be familiar with as they're coming out of having robbed the bank, as they're coming out with the big duffel bags full of cash. Val Kilmer is the first guy that makes the cops. So Pacino and his boys pull up, and Val Kilmer, you know, is the first one to identify. And the performance points that are highlighted in that piece of film are like, hey, once he identifies a threat, he with no hesitation puts, you know, as much firepower as he can on it immediately. And then the rest of the unit goes into their drill. Is something that even in the movie, you can tell that they had clearly rehearsed. Like these are guys that knew what to do. No kind of surprise. No, oh shit, Val Kilmer shooting at somebody. No, it was, they immediately went into their break contact drill. And it was like, they must've had somebody trained in IA drills that taught them that.
Correct. It was an SAS dude in pre-production. And unless I missed my guess, it was Andy McNabb.
Okay, so there you go. So when we taught that period of instruction in cyber school, we played that part of the film because I could stand up there and draw diagrams and little stick fingers on the thing, and I could tell you about it, or I could just show you Val Kilmer and the boys fucking whipping it on, you know.
Are there any scenes from the movie Showgirls that you can use in sniper school? Is there a breakdown in that movie?
Dude,
I like watching that one.
What's that chick's name? Like there was a Saved by the Bell chick that took.
That's right.
Showed her titties in that, right? See, now in the current Aaron is like, I look down my nose at degeneracy in films and shit.
Yeah, well, I don't even have Netflix. Right after Cuties, I shit canned it, man. Yeah. I was like, oh, for real? Well, you're not getting my $5 a month anymore, or whatever.
Once you heard that,
take that, Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I still think one of the most revealing and powerful movies of all time is Network. Have you guys seen that?
Dude,
I'm gonna start doing push-ups because I've not watched that yet. I'm gonna next movie Monday. I'll watch that movie.
Fuck, man, I had it. I might even have it as a bookmark here. As we talk, I'll find it. But there's a few scenes in that are amazing. But when they haul the main guy in, he gets called in, you know, to talk to like the chairman of the board type guy, right? And this dude breaks down Barney style like what reality is, and it's the most succinct, accurate. It's in a nice tight 4-minute package. All of our babbling about the United States as a corporation, and it's fucking amazing.
Well,
and Aaron, do you know the backstory of that scene?
I don't.
So he did that in one take. That was
Wow.
all memorized, one take. And so, Cody, when you watch this, you're gonna know what scene it is
Okay.
because yeah, when it goes, it's just like, wow, I just heard the truth about everything in the world just now. And he won an Academy Award for that too, and that was the only scene he was in. He won it for Best Supporting Actor for that 4-minute
Dude,
scene.
it's amazing. You guys keep talking.
Well,
I think I have it.
you
here
know, the
somewhere.
funny part, I think, kind of ties into this is another guy that just kind of gets stuck in weird shit all the time is Will Ferrell, and Anchorman 2 is essentially a not parody. What's the right word, Woody? It's how our 24-hour news cycle was essentially created and like what it was created for, because somewhere in there, I don't know who the fuck it was, like Rebecca Corningstone or somebody is like talking to this Australian version of like a Rupert Murdoch type character, and he's like, oh, I know what that is. Somebody's gonna do a story on pieces of airliners falling off and fucking killing people, right, for like sweeps week. And it turns out the guy that owns the station, whatever we'll call it, WNTV, like the owner of WNTV also owns the fucking airline company. And he's like, yeah, no. This is synergy. Like, we promote synergy around here. We're not gonna be talking about that shit, man. Like, I'll probably would have used this as a clip anyway, but Aaron has it, so we'll just fire it off, man. Fuck it, I'll sit and watch it.
Yeah, I found it right here, and I think you should go to like one. So you're just gonna take me a second to figure out how to share this thing.
There's definitely going to be a casino, not a casino, Goodfellas clip. There's definitely going to be a Heat clip when I get to editing all this together. What editing software do you use, man? I always geek out on your editing.
I finally switched over to Final Cut.
Final Cut.
I use Final
after using iMovie for the longest time.
Okay, since we talked about it, let's just pull this bad boy up.
He's in some eyes wide shut fucking boardroom.
Yeah, so the backstory basically is he's had there's a network anchor that's like very famous and popular, and he starts bucking the system basically. He gives this famous line like, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore. He goes on live TV and kind of fucks it up.
We got a misfiring robot. We can't have that shit.
Yeah, right. So this what you're about to see takes place after that. So he's already done. He's already like said some shit and angered the corporation. Are we hearing it?
Not yet.
Uh-oh.
Might
there
be.
It is. No, it's kind of there. When you turned it up, it was there.
Is it on the mixing board?
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature, Mr.
It sounds like it's coming out of the
Yeah,
laptop. We're doing it live, folks.
Give me one second here.
Paying $3.
Stopped a business deal.
I deserve better than this, guys. I'm like horrible.
We got it.
Oh wait.
It is ebb and
How's that?
flow, tidal gravity. It is
That's coming through for me. I mean, I can hear it.
Hey, if not, I'll fucking cut it in.
Okay. Man who thinks in terms of nations and peoples. There are no nations. There are no peoples. There are no Russians. There are no Arabs. There are no third worlds. There is no West. There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immane, interwoven, interacting, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichmarks, rims, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet. That is the natural order of things today. That is the atomic and subatomic and galactic structure of things today. And you have meddled with the primal forces of nature. And you will atone. Am I getting through to you, Mr. Beale? You get up on your little 21.
You get it. That's it. That he gets into more, but like,
and you've seen that shit in real life, dude. You've seen. I mean, we just talked about Kanye, man. You've seen one of the cogs malfunction, and then you've seen them come right back onto the fucking screen and do their little penance ritual, like that kid from Stranger by not Stranger, we're Stranger by the
Stranger
Hour.
by the Hour.
Yeah. That kid from fucking
You're gonna say Stranger Things?
yeah, that's with like 11 and the little kids and everything, right? That's
Yeah. The story
was
was like season 1 was supposed to be based off the Montauk Project, allegedly.
yeah, he got caught somewhere on camera, like passing out fucking stickers. It was like Zionism is sexy or something like that. And now he's gone on like an apology tour.
Yeah.
Where he's like, he's very delicately not trying to say Palestine because that's not supposed to exist. But like, he's like, no, of course I don't agree in the mass murder of Palestinian people. And like, I'm trying to understand myself better. And through understanding myself better,
Yeah.
we can all understand each other better. And, I guess we'll see whether or not he continues to have a career or not. But it's like,
There's a lot of examples of guys that kind of figure out, like a great example is Prince.
oh, the art, how dare you?
The artist formerly known as Prince. But Prince is like a pretty amazing guy, dude. Like,
Dead naming motherfuckers.
just what it seems to have happened with him is, at a young age, he was an extremely talented dude, played like 14 instruments. Like, the guy was amazing, right? And I grew up, like, Prince was huge in my house. Like, when I was a kid, Prince and Michael Jackson were huge, like basically constant rotation in my.
I lean more Prince because I'm heterosexual, but
well, Prince, yeah. So, but Prince gets involved with these guys as a young, and then by the time he's already famous and one of the biggest recording artists in the world, he figures it out and he does some interesting shit where he knows that what they own is like the name Prince, the brand, and all that kind of stuff. So he creates a symbol, right?
Symbol,
and he starts to do those kind of things, and who knows what really ultimately happened.
He would do like concerts with like slave written on his face and shit to get. I think he was trying to get out from under Warner Brothers,
dude. And he's got that. There's some pretty esoteric stuff in his lyrics. Like, it seems like kind of bubblegum pop type stuff, but some of his later stuff, like, and we're getting deep in the dorkery here, but like, go look at the lyrics to the song 7.
Yeah, 07 will watch you fall.
Yeah. It's pretty cool shit. But that networks, that scene and the rest of that film, but that's the beast system telling you unequivocally, point blank, explicitly, like, there is no country, dumbass. It's a corporation. Like, pay attention. And this is something that I say often. I tell people, we say it on the show or whatever. And I get no traction with people when I say it. I can tell. I read their body language. I'm like, look, there's no, your voting is nonsense. They're just taking a poll of your opinion. You're not determining the outcome of anything with your vote. There's no democracy. If there was a democracy, you wouldn't want it. Democracy's evil.
Mob rule.
This is a corporation, and people are just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how dare you? And it's like, and that's across any political spectrum. You could tell a right winger that, and you're going to get how dare you. You can tell a left winger that. They all buy into the same presupposition, and that is that this is a system that responds to the desires of the governed, which, like, I laugh when I'm saying it because it's fucking absurd. Like, it's absurd at this point to think that the thing that calls itself our government is our employee in some way. Ours is subordinate to us.
Supposedly.
It's asinine.
Yeah, it's just not.
But that movie, you gotta watch it.
And I got recommended, I was told to watch this show, House of Usher, on Netflix. Cody wouldn't know anything about it because he got rid of his Netflix because he's upset.
In honor over here.
With another movie. But they tried to do the same shit with Network. And it was like, they actually tried it twice, I think. There's like one scene where a guy does a line and another scene at the end where his sister does the line. And it's just like, okay, yeah, but Network did it better. They said it better.
Yeah.
So you kind of get that recycled pitch that they try to do in some of these movies. But yeah, with Network, it's just not a movie that's really celebrated in the modern day. And I don't understand why, because when I go back and watch it, it's just really, really brilliant all around, not just that scene, but everything about it. It's got a big cast in it too, Robert Duvall. And it's just like, we never talked about that in film school. But
another one that's like that. Have you seen Under the Silver Lake?
No, and I got a good friend who kept telling me to watch it.
Yeah, it's similar, and it's got a scene where a guy who's basically in charge of all music. So this is like Tavistock, kind of like how the Tavistock Institute created
Laurel
the
Canyon.
Beatles and all this shit. It's a cinematic representation of that, but it's another good one to see.
My wife told me that she wanted to watch this movie, Leave the World Behind.
Yeah, everybody's talking about that. Yeah,
I was like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
So I missed the Obama's name in the opening credits because it's like the opening credits was just like this stupid, like, I don't know. I was like, whatever. I didn't really want to watch the movie. And then when it was all said and done, I was just like, God, I just watched another one of these garbage, like, in not even Into the World, but more of a get ready for how intense it's going to be for you and your family when the Civil War starts and shit. And then when I saw the Obamas like credited in it, I was like, God damn it. I would have never watched this movie had I known that was a thing. And also just like as a former president, what a weird fucking movie to make. Like if Trump made some weird ass movie like that, I mean, I would not watch that shit either, but.
Well, those types of movies and this new one coming out. By the way, I watched a bootleg of Leave the World Behind on BitChute while standing surrounded by Navy SEALs.
Oh yeah,
fucking hilarious. But like, no, that's not as good as the cat lady with the fucking thermite, but that's up there with it. But where was I going with that? TBI. Was that Alpha 28? Was that A24? Was that company that makes all?
Oh, I'm not sure. Probably it could have been, yeah.
Programming true.
Because there was another one that was sort of like leave society behind kind of thing, but which is what I'm trying to fucking do up here. But it was like some Scandinavian thing where they, it's like a Wicker Man meets fuck, dude. Anyway, this chick and her friends go to this village in the middle of nowhere and they end up getting sacrificed and everything. And there's fertility rituals. It's like,
was it Midsummer or something?
Yeah.
Like
Oh yeah. I hear that's good. Though. I heard that was a good.
I never watched that one.
I think I know where I was going with that. Leave the World Behind. What that almost seems like from a messaging standpoint, because we're all fucking messaging type guys, is it's almost coming from the power structure, saying like you better behave or fucking this is gonna happen type thing. Like it's But the other thing is moving forward, man. Like it's kind of cliche at this time, but I think it's kind of unless you're a complete muppet. It's kind of like a known thing that they're looking for globalization, right? You can't have a one world order with a free America, man. So like as this thing progresses, like some manner of because look, man, the rest of the world is pretty much already under the thumb of some kind of a monarch, right? Like so you have Australia, we call them the Five Eyes, but it's America, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and Britain, right? Well, all of those countries, though they seem to be independent countries, are all owned by the fucking crown, right? The four of them just straight out are owned by the crown, and we're owned via the Bank of London. So, I don't know, man. I think my brain broke on that one too, man. I've been blown up. I'll pass it over.
Save him, Aaron. Save him.
I'm just like these things are okay. So they're showing you a version of the future, right? And it's now in popular consciousness to be contemplating things like an American Civil War, complete collapse, a grid down situation. And so just like everything else, they're going to give you a version of that to put in your brain. Because you could conceptualize it like, oh, good. It could be a positive thing. It could be a cooperative thing. It could be a bunch of people returning to the land. It could be a bunch of people becoming energy independent. It could be a bunch of people figuring out how to get reskilled in all the skills that like our great grandparents used to have. Like you could produce a movie or a set of movies or a whole genre that's like successful, positive, back to the land, cooperative. You could do it all woke if you want. You could have black people, white people, Asian people farming together, fucking trans people farming with fucking straight people. They could create it so that, oh, look, once things become austere enough, people will have to cooperate to get along. And this is how they might go about doing it. You could create a whole popular, you could make that popular. You could make people think that farming and prepping and all that shit's cool. You could make it so you could paint it so that it's your patriotic responsibility to learn how to farm and to grow a victory garden in your backyard. And you could do all that shit, but they don't do that shit. They make a movie where the guy that's a prepper is a fucking asshole, right? And that, the woman, they're going to make a version of that that's puts you in the fear vibration so that you conceptualize a future absent the system as something horrifying. And that's the use of how they choose to use this very, very powerful tool. This is why they suck.
And it's funny with that specific movie too, because it's like the internet gets hacked. But it's like, okay, well, in 1990, that would have never been a problem because
people would have been
nothing was running on that system. So, it seems like,
imagine like when you first had the internet, if someone told you that it was gonna go away, you'd be like, oh really? That's fine, because it takes like someone emailed me a picture of some titties and it took like 9 minutes, like one line at a time. Like I can live without it, like
Right.
I'll go back to the magazines in the manual way.
Well, to circle around on your point with that, I get a no small amount of enjoyment, especially if there's the occasional marijuana involved, of watching old 1950s PSAs, man. Because that's exactly what those things were, dude. They were telling the population the correct way to act. And it was things like, for little Susie, going steady is a big like choice in her life. You don't want to go steady with the wrong boy and get a bad reputation. And now it's like wet ass pussy. I'm like, so that pretty much illustrates Aaron's point specifically. And the one that is most entertaining, me and my brother like got baked and stood, like we watched it on my iPhone while standing in my old pantry, just fucking face loading munchies, man.
Dude, that's the good shit.
Is the old 1950s essay about homosexuality.
Dude,
it's fucking hilarious, dude.
Was it like, Boys Beware?
It might be that. It's like, Tom has a sickness, but it's not a sickness you can see like smallpox. It's a sickness of the mind. And like, so not only is it calling gay people like disease, but also it, like paints them as predatory. And it's like, it's pretty fucking hilarious, man. But then, you go all the way to the right, and you got I guess to the left in this case. And then you got what is an extremely small portion of humanity. If you were to actually show people inside entertainment at their actual numbers, every TV show wouldn't have a gay guy in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, once again, nothing wrong about gays, man. Like, hey, it's all good, dude. Like,
yeah. I there's another way to look at all this stuff too, and I try to remind myself, it's like I don't get to just passively consume and enjoy media anymore because I know better, right? Because now I know, okay, I can still enjoy it, but I have to kind of have my haunches up, right? But it's also I'm a little bit thankful for it because that's a muscle you get to exercise, right? Like, hey, look, someone's trying to message to me. What's the message? Okay. And then now as I'm raising, sons, it's like, I have to be I'm paying close attention. Right. And then instead of saying, cause I'm not raising like a fucking Mennonite kid with no TV. Right. So he's on the internet. He's very into making video editing and stuff. He loves doing animations and that's his artistic, kind of expression. And
we hire him?
Once he he's getting pretty, but okay, so I got to try to find ways to nurture his artistic expression, all that stuff. But I can already tell he gets a little tired of my shit, but I don't care. When I pay very close attention to what he's watching, and when I see grabbles in there, we fucking stop and talk about it. And I go, look, man, like, hey, no issue watching this, enjoy it, but just so you know, we had one the other day. I'm like, why do you think they call it fossil fuel? Go. No, I'm just like, why do you think? And then he tells me, I'm like, here's why that's not true. And here's what they were trying to do. This is, Standard Oil wanted to make it seem like we had that it was dinosaur bones and that there's only a limited amount. And also I told him the reason why they lied about it. I'm like, doesn't mean you have to freak out or anything. It's an opportunity every time,
And he's getting older. So these concepts are going to start.
Dude, and kids, like, kids are I have a little bit of hope for like his generation. Cause like without my bullshit, it was, I swear to God, it wasn't due to me. He already just kind of knows that the NASA shit's fake. Like him and his friends, they're like, stupid. I'm like, why do you say that? Cause I'm curious. I'm like, they're like, it looks fake. That's stupid. I'm like, yeah,
Well, Rupert Sheldrake, his theory of morphic resonance, dude, I think is probably correct.
I'm into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that? You familiar with that?
I'm not, no. And
So
I was just gonna say, I've heard from like some parents with kids these days that a lot of the children are like really turned off by social media, like seeing how their parents behave on it and how adults behave on it, and that gives me hope for the
Yeah,
future.
I've heard that.
If they can look at that and be like, "That's kind of a joke. I don't want anything to do with
I
that."
haven't witnessed that, but I heard something the same exact like you said, that there's like a but it makes sense. You're gonna rebel against what you
Your
see.
parents,
You
yeah.
think your parents are lame. Your parents are constantly just wandering around looking at their phone. You're gonna be like, fuck that. Do something else.
Mom's always showing her tits on the internet. I don't want anything to do with that.
Mom, what's OnlyFans? Why do you have it?
think about the amount of destruction to relationships going to happen if the internet goes down and like all these Insta hoes and OnlyFans
they're
thoughts who are like with a man because she's like bringing in money and shit. And now you're just sitting across from like none of that shit. None of those people are going to stay together, man. Like it's
nah, yeah, they're gonna have to. It was like my first marriage. As soon as I got out of the Marines, and as soon as we both realized I was like gonna be home all the time, the marriage dissolved like in a month. All right. Well, okay. So why don't we get into, because we haven't hit any like of the major big geopolitical current events. Let's do a couple wave thoughts. So
quick round the world.
all right. So we've made it very clear that we're not big supporters of the fucking Israeli genocide of Gaza, but also I'm not a Hamas supporter. Like, we're isolationists.
Well,
Would
yeah,
you
my
say that's accurate?
baseline stance on it is I will not be forced to have an opinion about something that's happening 10,000 miles away, that is between two people that have never gotten along. You know, it's like I can objectively look at something and tell you like like I can have an objective opinion and not be like labeled as something,
because
you know,
because we are responsible for our moral standing in this world. And so I'm not going to be guilted into supporting, and it doesn't mean that I'm full of hate, you know, but it's so interesting things like the topic of, they call it like in the right-wing truther world, it's the Jewish question or whatever. It's not, I don't like all that labeling and framing, because it's like it automatically puts you into this thing. And I think it's on purpose. Like, if you question any of the behavior of any Zionists or Jewish people or Israelis or any of those people, you immediately, it's a convenient way to bin you. Oh, you're a anti-Semite.
I'll put it like this, and then we'll hand it over to Woody. Is if there was a question in this, but like my analogy is this. Man, I think I had it more succinctly, man. I'm just fucking, it's probably lack of caffeine or some shit, but like,
Are you smoking in the cabinet again with your brother?
Oh man, I actually went on some frog poison fucking thing where like I got blasted with frog poison 3 days in a row, and I haven't.
Oh shit! Is that
fucking,
DMT?
No,
Smoking frog venom.
No, not yet. But
Oh,
I
okay.
wouldn't rule that out. No, it's called Kambo, KMBO, and essentially it's the what's the name of the frog? It's a it's an Amazonian frog, and what they do is it secretes a defensive poison, you know, because venom is injected, poison's secreted, you know, like. And what happens is they burn your arm with a little stick, and they take some of this secreted frog venom and put it over the burn. And what it feels like is if you just took like, 1,500 milligrams of niacin.
It's crazy.
And so what it does is essentially, I'm probably getting some of the workings of it wrong, but it's a lymphatic kind of cleanse. Like you can almost kind of feel it, like sucking like poisons out of your system. And essentially what happens is you puke in a bucket until like yellow bile comes out. And once the bile starts coming out, that's got deep down in the root.
Now you're detoxing.
Yeah. And like the final like bile puke, like you could tell, dude, it feels like it's pulling out from the floor of your butthole, man. Like it's coming.
Just pooping out your mouth.
Yeah, basically, man. But like afterwards, you're like in like a meditative state. It's not psychoactive at all. And afterwards you're like in a meditative state, and but back to the Jays.
No, but I mean, the result is that you've been off caffeine and
weed.
the whole since.
Since, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty significant.
Yeah,
I need to get off caffeine. I was huge.
I look at the whole Middle Eastern situation like this. There's a wimpy little kid, right, who likes to talk a lot of shit and sometimes steals from people, who has picked a fight or is about to pick a fight with the rest of the fucking neighborhood. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Like, hey man, if you get your ass whipped because you picked a fight with all the neighbor kids.
Well, so and again, just not to break our own hands patting our back, but like we predicted the second and third order effects of this, and they're happening. So this thing now, the Houthis in Yemen, the Houthis are at this point, though we keep categorizing them as like a terrorist organization, they're the standing army of Yemen, pretty much, right?
Well, we call everybody standing army but us a terrorist.
Right. But they enjoy the full support and loyalty of the Yemeni people. I've seen video of like hundreds of thousands of Yemenis in the streets being like, so we keep bombing Yemen, and the Yemenis keep, because we've been bombing them we've been quietly bombing Yemen for like 7 years or something. And so
we send tier 1 guys over there to shoot them up.
And so they're like, we don't care. We're just going to keep, if Israel keeps doing what they're doing in Gaza, we are going to fuck up your commerce. And we are going to do that by launching these low cost drone and missile attacks against your very expensive to guard commercial shipping. And it's going to fuck you up. And we're not, and then so the interesting thing is that previously in the past, when things would happen and America would say no more of that shit or else, people would respond. They're not afraid of us anymore. So we said Blinken or whatever's like, no more of that shit or else. And they're like, or else what, dude?
We take or else.
Yeah. So they took our or else, and 2 navies. Did you hear about the SEALs?
I did actually, yeah, which is funny after our little boondoggle.
I know, after us talking shit too. But, unfortunately, 2 SEAL assaulters fell into the drink trying to board a little dhow somewhere.
Which they're apparently not very good at.
Well, yeah.
We saw that and heard it firsthand.
So I guess, Mike, everyone knows like what our opinion is. Wooden, what is your, like, do you care about what's going on in Gaza? Is this important to you? Is it like something, or is it just kind of like, what do you think about it? And not to put you on the spot.
No, it's quite all right. I knew coming into this I was going to be dealing with some.
About the Jays.
We did talk about banning the
ADL. My stance is if innocent people are losing their lives, there's a problem. So it's hard to choose any side at that point, because I'm always going to stand on the side of the people. Everyone, for the most part. I mean, yeah, there's always those fractions, but I feel like, and you guys would know better, you've been around the world more than I have, that you kind of get a sense that there's a lot of good in people everywhere you go. It doesn't matter where. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't pay much attention to it. Like, I'm aware that the situation is going on, but even just like the other day, I drove past a pro-Palestine.
Yeah. A rally or something.
Now I'm pulling a Cody here, and I'm losing frog venom got to me, man. But yeah, it's like you see that, and it's like, well, you guys know you're not doing anything, right? Like, they don't over there even know that you're over here doing this. But I guess there's that sense of morale, and and
I think a certain type of young people, they're gonna find their thing to get in the streets and wave signs about. It's like kind of shit with it, like. There's always going to be a certain amount of people that are going to want to go in the military and be warrior types. It's just like an archetype thing. And I think for young people, it's pretty common to be idealistic. And, I tend to like young people very much. So I identify that in myself. Like I just don't. I'm an old curmudgeon. And just because I can see on a long enough timeline, I'm like, none of the shit you guys are, just like Wooden just said, none of the things that you're waving signs about are affected by your waving signs.
Yeah, you're getting time and energy stolen from you.
And more, yeah, and also you've become a prop in a larger information operation. You're now just a deliverable.
Yeah, you pick the side.
Yeah, but as a fan of novelty and this whole thing about the tunnel Jews it's been like a gift from the universe to me, because, and this is not a hate-based thing. Like, you can't accuse me of any kind of hatred when, like, I didn't make up the fact that they dug tunnels underneath their Chabad. So what this did cause me to do. So basically what I'm talking about, everybody knows, under the Chabad world headquarters in Crown Heights in Brooklyn, which is like headquarters for the Hasidim. I learned, they were digging tunnels. Another hilarious side story is there was a guy, and he like posted on Twitter. There's a guy like months ago that was like, everybody is just gonna say I'm crazy, but there's Jews underneath my apartment, and I live on the bottom floor with no basement. And then people were like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then this happens, and then he posts on Twitter, a bunch of people owe me an apology.
I fucking told you so.
But they were digging tunnels, and then all the truthers come out and they're like, look, this is in the vicinity of a children's hospital. This is in the vicinity of this statue that's like a reptile coming off a manhole that's like biting a kid.
I've looked into none of this, but
you're better off, right?
Okay.
So all of a sudden,
that's how the Nephilim, what do you call them? Nephilim?
Yeah.
That's how they got to that Miami mall, is they were coming from New York into the tunnels, and then they got to the Miami mall.
It's 10-foot tall lizards or some shit, right? Like, I didn't look into that either.
But and maybe it'd be worth editing in. I'll send you the video or something. But like, this happens, the cops come, and then it's like literally the meme, the Goyim no, shut it down. Yeah. Literally, like the Goyim no, get cement trucks here ASAP and fill this motherfucker in, because there's a rift in the Chabad. There's like this young group of Chabad that they have this guy that they think is the Messiah. I can't remember his name.
Okay.
They think he's like the actual Messiah.
Because it wasn't JC according to them.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
And so he kind of told them to expand their operation. So like there's a bunch of like weird, go figure, money laundering shit involved in all this too. But the cops come and they shut it all down. But it's literally like the meme. There's a video of a Jewish guy in all the garb, the hat, the whole shit, crawling up out of a tunnel, kind of wiping off the front of himself and scurrying off. And I'm like, dude, did I create this with my like? Is this happening? It was like solipsism shit, right? Did I just laugh about this kind of thing so much that now I've created it? Like, you know what I mean? I've been having a blast with it, but I also I fell down a Chabad rabbit hole. There's a movie. It's a very interesting documentary called City of Joel.
Okay.
So these dudes, they multiply. Each your average Hasidic family, they'll go like 8 to 10 kids. So they are breeding, right? So
I know a little bit about this because I listened to the recent War Mode.
Oh yeah, okay. That's what kind of that's where I found out about the City of Joel documentary.
Okay.
But their area in Crown Heights, they can't contain all these people. So they branched out to a place in New Jersey, and they got in a big war with they set up a footprint there, built a big temple, and they just the place is like a part in New Jersey where people moved from the city so they could have like half an acre. They wanted some woods, like some green. And then here come these dudes, and they buy up property, and then they just build apartment complexes, and they stuff them full of Hasidic Jews. And so
it's
now
almost like they're reclaiming other people's land
until people get pissed and try to kick them out.
Weird.
So it's that's not a hateful, like, dude,
how dare you? First of all,
it's not a hate. It's like not hatred. It's because I'm not threatened by these people. Like, because I know it's an offer, because I've read their Talmud a bit. I know how they see me.
Yeah.
I know a bit about their, eschatological viewpoint about the end of the world and how I fit into that. I know that in their doctrine, I am the goyim. I'm literally a slave. Yeah. And so it's not hatred. It's like, hey, fair play, guys. Like, I know what you think.
Yeah.
And so when I see you, when this happens to you, I get to laugh. I'm not coming after you.
No,
I don't have anything. I get to enjoy this.
Mountain in the middle of nowhere.
I get to enjoy this. So
from 7 years of living in Brooklyn, and my experience, with the Hasidics is, I mean, the stereotype's true about the money. All right, it is. They always want the money. It's as true as it can be.
Well, they'll tell you as much.
But what I will say is, during COVID and 2020 lockdown, the Hasids were the only ones in New York that were like, fuck the rules. We're not following them.
They were serious about it.
Yeah, the police were putting chains around their parks, and they were coming out there with the saws and just chopping them all down. And they lived their life in a way that so many of us were like, this is what, we need to be doing this, we need to fight back. And a lot of us didn't, but they did as a group. So, I mean,
and respect, I do respect this because they you talk about like in the Christian doctrine, there's like be, you know, they say, you know, be in the place but not of it, right? Like they are that, like they are on a mission basically that has to do with their spiritual orientation, and they're just here, you know, because it's a place, like they even say in the documentary, they're like, look, we like America because of the Constitution, because there's shit we want to do,
Yeah.
that the rules are here is such that it facilitates us doing it. We try to do this shit in other places and they kick us out, and they, you know, so
Well, and going back to the mortarboard episode, which y'all should definitely check out if you haven't already. I'll link it somewhere in here. I'll drop it down if you haven't already checked it out. I would feel bad, but none of this shit's new. It's been going on for a very long time, and it just seems odd to me, especially, you know, since a lot of the media apparatus is owned by a certain group of folks. You know, it seems odd to me that a lot of these things are just being put out in the open now, right? Like Elon, who's a fucking plant, right? Like he's not a real person. Is able to like open the floodgates for this stuff, dude. And I think what it comes down to is the scapegoat thing, man.
yeah,
I think I mean, this whole Mr. Spock thing is actually like a Jewish sign of like the goat and Aries, you know, it's like the sacrificial goat, scapegoat. It's all fucking
like Leonard
occultism.
Nimoy, like freestyle.
I never heard of that one.
Yeah,
Live long and prosper.
Yeah, that's Leonard
hilarious.
Nimoy. Like,
yeah, like this is a Hebrew like sign of the fucking goat, of the ram.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it's
not the shocker one in the
oh, that's like the double shocker, man. That's right. Look, the powers that be are getting ready to attempt to redraw the map, right? I think that's kind of what it happens. It has
redraw the map
man.
globally.
Yeah, you know, there's not Ottoman Empire anymore, right? There's no Austro-Hungarian Empire. You know, there's no fucking you know, pick your poison. You know, it's like I mean, Iraq was a creation of the fucking World War I, wasn't it? Like it's
they just arbitrarily drew those boundaries.
I think they're gonna start to redraw the map again, and I think pulling the cover off of this group of people that, because of religious beliefs, tend to act in a unfavorable way towards their neighbors.
Yeah,
you know, Christians have done it too. You got the Inquisition. You know, everybody's acted unfavorably towards their neighbors. I think now the ambiguity is being turned down.
Yeah.
So, you know, specifically they're going to kind of show you some shit, and then you're going to be offered to, you know, the world in general, you know, it's closer to the Arab nations, or they're going to be given an offer, you know, like, will you do some violent shit against these people, right?
Yeah.
And
but so I agree. I'm interested, but okay, so they're gonna scapegoat those people, the Jews, right?
That's part of my assessment, yeah.
But so that makes me, this is something we've talked about before, that like the people at the highest levels, like the, you know, Larry Fink types, these like BlackRock Capital, like top of the pyramid guys that identify as Jewish, they're not really, because they're going to scapegoat the rest of the Jewish people.
They're Sabbatean Frankists.
They're
but
Satanists, they use their status as Jews as a liability shield. And again, this is why I'm saying this is not a hateful orientation. This is a warning to the other people that are lower in that pyramid that call themselves Jews that are going to get scapegoated.
This is probably a good time to switch. I'll start off, and then I think we'll go around the horn, and that'll kind of take us towards like 90 minutes. Is just kind of wave tops for 2024. And this whole thing we've been talking about kind of bleeds into it a little bit. In my assessment, right, because everything remains a secret until they want it to not be a fucking secret anymore, man. That's like Michael Hoffman, right?
Yeah. And they indoctrinate you into
so
initiate you.
My assessment moving forward looks something like this, and I don't really have a time frame for it, or you know, it's in moving towards this one world government thing. I think what's going to happen is over the next period of time, you know, the J problem is going to fucking ratchet up, and that's going to cause their the alligators closest to that boat to flip that fucking boat over and eat it. And so what that's going to do is that's going to put the Holy Land back into the hands of the Arabs, right? Now, if you spend as much time fucking perusing social media as I do for the show, and just as dude, I have like an autistic fucking ability that's why I still have legs, to notice patterns, man.
Right.
The pattern amongst like the greater like warfighter fucking internet, man, is like a return to like heavy duty Christianity, man.
Yeah.
So, and we all know that if there's one thing Americans don't like, it's fucking Arabs for some reason, because we've been told they're bad people. But going back to what Woody said earlier, people are good people everywhere, man. They got why. I mean,
I like it. Yeah.
I got no beef with any Afghan. I got no beef with any Iraqi. I will never raise arms against another Arabic person in Arabic lands. If one parachutes out of the sky over here, they're getting shot right in the face. But, but the Muppet ass American people and fucking white people in general, fucking white people, are going to be told that it's their dude. I think they're literally going to recock the fucking Crusades, man.
Wait, you think that they're going to use this current? They're going to try to sell war against another Middle East dust up involving us?
Yeah. So what's going to happen here locally, I think, is my assessment is, dude, I know nobody has actually seen the actual letter from Albert Pike. So it's a claim. It's not a claim. It's an assessment, right? To make a claim that Albert Pike wrote that letter is incorrect because nobody's ever actually seen it.
Right.
But in the third paragraph for the Third World War, essentially, it says they set all the Abrahamic religions against each other to cause such bloodshed, and they released the fucking atheists and the nihilists, and what are all these fucking pedophiles if not nihilists?
Yeah.
Right? Because to harm a child like that, you must be a fucking nihilist, right? Until all of us are so fucking sick of it that we accept the new thing,
the new religion,
which will probably be some
tech
AI,
nonsense.
Yeah, the new religion will be this AI, and it'll have a tech priest class, like straight fucking Warhammer 40K. There'll be tech priests who are the only people that are allowed to interface with Big Thought, the fucking tech god, And then we end up in a some kind of weird Brave New World utopia shit, man. That was a tough one to get out.
I could. You got anything to add to that?
Some black pill shit there, Cody. Goddamn.
There's a reason I bought a farm.
Well, I don't push back on any of that. I could see, I'm obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, but I could see that. I especially like the part that resonates with me is because everything I'm seeing is trending toward this, a new religion, a replacement of they've gotten all of the juice they're going to get out of that, right? All the polarity shit that they can. Yeah. And this is like the transhumanists, these globalist tech types. That is a religion. They have a religion. Like it's like the religion of Joe Rogan and shit. It's this Elon Musk, all this shit. But what'll be interesting as this unfolds is how they're gonna have to do more ops, more false flags to get people to want to go fight those wars, because the recruiting's down. I don't see the appetite for going back out to the Middle East. Like it's been too recently that everybody's just saw them. We saw them fail at the last. Like they're gonna have to do something that gets, frankly, to be honest, white dudes from the middle of the country to sign up and go kill people on the other side.
Patriotism.
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think they're gonna.
Took my holy land.
Because here's the problem with the patriotism thing. Like right now, the kind of people that would join and go, that are keen to go join and fight other people, consider the government to be terrible, like the Biden government or whatever, right? So do they put Trump back in to get? They're gonna have to.
Well, I mean, if it goes that far,
Yeah. What do you think's gonna happen this year? Do you think we're gonna make it to an election?
Man, I've never been good at predicting anything. When I predict something, it never comes to fruition. All I can say is God is good, and there's no label on what that God is. I can't speak that language, so if it comes in the form of this religion or that, it makes no difference to me. there's so much in play that's happening here that it's like impossible to figure out what it's going to be. But in terms of that false flag kind of control world, if I was, one of these nefarious individuals running the place, Trump is the greatest card to play.
Yeah.
Get him back in an assassination, whether it's real or fake, civil war done. So it's already off. You're gonna have so many people that'll just go fight in the street at that point. So yeah, like I see that Trump thing is potentially really dangerous, but at the same time, I'm also just leaning that I don't care anymore because
yeah.
you guys are much better ahead than I am because you're actually at a point where you're like building sustainability where I'm 100% relying on the system. My oven's down right now, and I'm just like, oh, this is fucked. Like, what am I gonna do? So yeah, I mean, a lot of where just my personality is in faith right now. Not that I'm one of these astrology people, but Pluto's apparently going into Aquarius for the first time in 200 years, I think, in just a few days, and it's going to be there for like X amount of years. And they say, oh, it's going to be a great transformation period and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what, man, fuck it. Let's do a transformation period.
I've been hearing a lot of that too, but that's going to come with like, you're going to need to burn the dead wood. They're talking like the people that are into this kind of stuff are, this is the end of one yuga into another one. Like, I don't know anything about like astrotheology or that stuff. I just know that like I listen to like Crow 777 and sometimes, some pretty compelling points are made about like these energetic shifts from one, yuga to another, and who knows, but
I tell you that I think the creeps do care about the star clock. I think
they plan their shit based off the star.
Yeah, I think somebody even showed where you could like plot like Bitcoin or like crypto going up and down by like lunar cycles or some shit.
Yeah,
man. Like
dude.
it's just because the masses of humanity have forgotten about the star clock because of light pollution doesn't mean like the children of the fucking pharaohs forgot about that shit.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Man, I mean, so many of the old architecture from down in South America and wherever, it's based off that. I mean, we know that, right? Like the sun's going through a certain window once, I'm definitely not the best person to talk about it, but it just makes sense to me that that's where all the intelligence was before we got to this point of technology and being just completely distracted is, they watched the sky, they figured it out. And we've lost that, or I can't say we've lost it. We just haven't been given it, but somebody here knows about it.
Well, it's pretty cool. I've been reading this book called The Everlasting Man by G.K. Chesterton. It's an older book, like in the 1800s, but even in that book, this is like late 1800s, he's talking about man having become obsessed with their things they produce, like their gadgets, basically. And this is before what I would consider to be gadgets. He's talking about like, I don't know, steam engines or something, right? But it's very compelling because it's like, this is the case. Like we live in my opinion, we live inside a creation, a perfect creation that's got everything you could possibly need in abundance. It's got an impossibly complex, clock system that, and we become obsessed with the shit that we make, like our little bullshit, and it's so distracting. And people are actively giving a shit about Taylor Swift at the fucking Chiefs game. Like that's it, as the world crumbles around us. Like they're like, did you see she winked at him when he came up? And it's like,
I saw she still got a flat ass.
Grown fucking man. Like
that's what the BBL is going to be for. She's
oh
going
my
to get
god, the BBL, dude.
But no, it is really weird, that whole Taylor Swift KC Chiefs thing, because like, when was there ever another example where the media gave two craps about a celebrity dating a sports star to this degree? Like it's insane.
So there's that the Taylor Swift thing going on, and then another interesting phenomenon is this what I believe this humiliation ritual with a lot of these black athletes. Like there's a couple specifically, like a wide receiver. I don't fucking care about sports, so I only see this in from the periphery. But they have these guys walking up to the game dressed, and it used to be you'd have your Dennis Rodman type or something, be like flamboyant.
Yeah.
No, these guys, it's humiliating what they're wearing. It's like, and I think that, and then so they showed, some of the thing I was watching, they're showing some of these guys, and it's like, oh, magically these guys are having a big season. They're having You know, I think it's part of the deal. And I think that like they're showing you that like you shouldn't be taking any of that. The amount of energy people put towards sports ball is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty obscene.
It's crazy. Like all that attention and energy. And it's like, bro, even if that was an actual sport that wasn't like produced, it'd still be crazy to care about it that much. You know?
I mean, it's like whatever cliche or trope or whatever, but like it's bread and circus, man.
It is truly. But it's interesting how susceptible we still are to all that shit. Like, you know, it's because of the shit we watch and the people we talk to, it seems like people are getting hip to the skip, but really generally people aren't. They're the same low consciousness, you know, and you can tell that when you try to talk to people that aren't into this shit about it and they just think you're insane.
I mean, I'm envious sometimes of people who are really into football and all that because it's just like ignorance is bliss. You know, I would love to be able to sit down and just drink a beer and just root for this fucking game. But on a random kind of topic, not too random, did you guys watch Cat Williams on Shannon Sharp?
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, that was an entertaining one.
I like what he was saying, you know, and it's like, is it real? Is he a character too? Like, is that part of the show? Is he the
Well, that's what I've kind of heard in follow up to that because I checked it out and I found it really entertaining.
But I've always liked Cat Williams. And it's a wonder why he's, in my opinion, light years funnier than Kevin. Kevin Hart's not funny.
Dude, funniest man I ever heard was, I think they got him by giving him the diabetes or enhancing his diabetes, is Patrice O'Neal.
Oh, Patrice, dude, 100%.
Yeah.
Hard to call on that one though, because he definitely was. He had bad lifestyle shit.
He's a big old fat guy.
He was great, dude. He's one of the greats. Norm Macdonald's fucking,
Norm
my
Macdonald.
opinion, best comic of all time. Like, and actually like a moral person. You know what I mean? Like,
well, George Carlin, man. Why was George Carlin allowed to say all that shit?
Yeah, I think there's a big club and you ain't it. I think he was in it.
Well, I mean, well, it's funny because he would say that shit to the people in the audience and they would laugh and fucking like it's like
when Ricky Gervais like stood there and called all the fucking Hollywood people pedophiles in their face.
We know he was your friend, like,
dude,
talking about Epstein.
I'm sure that's part of the show, but that was so like, it felt so good to see, you know, like it just feels good sometimes when someone gets to fucking like the Cat Williams shit. It feels good to hear him say that, you know, to be like, yeah, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, so Big Herc had a dude on his Big Herc 916 channel. Fuck, I forgot the guy's name. It might have been he was a comic. He was DJ Smooth B. Anyway, man, he was saying that going back to the age of Aquarius, like this is the age of Aquarius. We've moved into a new age, and it's the age of revelation, and like that, and shit's gonna start coming out, man. Whether it's organic or whether it's driven, you know, we're starting to see it. So,
and that's the whole apocalypse is like literally means like the lifting of a veil or something. So that's good. Well, we're at about an hour and 30.
Yeah, I love this conversation, man. Thank you so much. This is like my favorite style of conversation.
Do you have anywhere we can send people to see?
Not really. No, I've completely dropped off for the most part. I did rebrand my WNTV channel to Wooden Nickels. Ewar was forever ago telling me, just do it. I'm like, no, Wooden Nickels is dead. It's not coming back to YouTube. And then finally I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to rebrand it. And then I just randomly got the inspiration to do like 3 videos back to back to back. But before that, I hadn't done anything for months. And unfortunately, the Mortarboard channel is just kind of stalled out right now because, I mean, Ewar and I just really want to feel good about something when we put it out.
Yeah, you guys
we had his original series, Shadow Rome and LLG, kind of switch over to that Mortarboard channel. But at the end of the day, those are projects that, you know, originated with him, and he's very passionate about them. He's got his vision, you know, and he knows what he wants to do. And of course, he just dropped that recent Shadow Rome one. And they're fantastic videos, and it's cool to see that he's got a little bit more motivation than I do at the moment. But once that project comes up, you just know in you got your soul, it's like, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And because nothing's coming up like that for me in terms of YouTube, there's just not a lot that I'm doing. So it was refreshing to come here and have this chat with you guys. And I'm just gonna be working on my screenplay and reading my books for the research for it. And see what this Pluto going into Aquarius is all about, transformation.
I'll leave off by plugging another one of your videos. I already plugged the mushroom trip video, but and maybe you know the name of it right off the top of your head, man. But you did a video. A big Tartarian thing is like a part of that psyop is telling us that we can't do this, you can't do this, you suck, we can't fucking do this. Like it's almost like an attack on like the magnificence of the human experience and human soul and like human ability, But then you made a video, and I'm pretty sure it was on Wood Nichols, dude. It was like massively uplifting, man. And fuck, dude, I watched. You were showing like a hotel that they were going to build in somewhere in the Middle East, where it's basically like a carved out mountain, man.
Oh yeah. I think I called that video Grand Reopening.
Yeah, man. And I was just like, dude, we really are amazing, dude. We really are miraculous, dude. Like humanity really is beautiful, man. And I just stood there and like watched it on my big screen TV, and it motivated me, man. I'm like, fuck, dude, like, of course we did all these things, man.
Yeah.
And we've been dumbed down, we've been stolen from, we've been lied to, and we can go back to our fucking glory, man. Like we can go back to building the Acropolis. We can go back to living in a heroic age, man. Like we can, and we fucking should.
Hell yeah. Dude,
And I can even look back on all that Tartaria stuff and just see it as like a real positive, because the exercise of looking into history and using your imagination and creativity and start asking questions, there's nothing wrong with that. I support that. And that was the first time I ever did it. Like outside of school, I didn't look into history. And now all of a sudden I was digging into it and using this new way of thinking to approach it. And now that really was a great exercise. And I'm glad that I did it. At the end of the day, then, once you do enough research and you're being honest with yourself, you're kind of like, all right, well, this one really isn't adding up. But that's not to say that there aren't lies in history, and to just keep going and keep digging further and further into it. So as much as it seems like I've been an anti-Tartaria person, I've even been called by Martin Liedtke the enemy of Tartaria, like whatever the fuck that means.
Even though Archaic comes out and says right out now that Tartaria's a psyop, so it's like, I mean,
he said that now?
Yeah, like one of his
like a recent video. That's hilarious.
I like Jason's stuff, and I don't really participate in like the internal firing squad shit. If anybody that has something that's true, I'll fucking or feels like rings true, But he was like, had a video where he had topics and like he's read like 10,000 books. He's like, yeah, this Tartaria shit ain't in any of them. It's like, yes, it was a place, like it's the stands, blah blah blah. Like,
yeah, I mean, I know he's partnered up with Martin Liedtke quite a lot, who is pitching that, so it's just kind of confusing. But I think I can kind of do an Archaic's impression. You guys want to hear it?
Shit. Yeah.
It might take a second. Every time I do it, my dog starts barking. Well, my wife's dog just doesn't like it. But okay, you got to understand something here. When we look at the simulacrum, okay, and Mr. Mackey there, understand that nothing matters. Okay, you got to get yourself to KFC and get yourself a family bucket of chicken. It doesn't matter in the simulacrum. Get the gravy. Get the mashed potatoes. Well, when Benjamin talks about the gravy, he doesn't like me, but he's right about the gravy. You gotta have it.
That's good.
That's some informed shit. Like you can trick your body into staving off fucking Sprite and KFC. Like, hell yeah.
Just
cool,
joking.
man.
Oh, yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
We'll kill it right here and just clean up on the backside. But everybody go check out Wood Nichols everywhere you can find him, man. And we love you all out there. Stay positive.
Yeah. What's this one?
Yeah, live long and prosper.
Cheers.